let's start this off. Tom, I know entitlement culture has been a hot topic for you. I've seen a few of your posts on LinkedIn. So I just want to, I know you probably have a lot to get off your chest for that. Like, so where did entitlement culture come from for you, and what do you actually mean by it?
So I think the entitlement word can be used in different contexts and different scenarios. I think where it's come from for me, and it's become a real bugbear of mine. I think COVID probably was a big player in it. I think COVID created a different mentality for a lot of people. And I think what happened with that was, I think we were going on a bit of a journey anyway. So everyone talks about the millennials. Everyone talks about this millennial culture as being a bit more demanding, a bit more, not arrogant, I suppose, but a bit more. They're not as fearful of, say, losing a job. They're not as fearful of, well, if I can't get a job, I'm going to be struggling. The millennials have got this kind of mentality where it's kind of like, well, I'll get another job. I'll get another opportunity. So I think that we're on that kind of journey anyway with this millennial culture. Yeah. And that's not a bad thing necessarily.
Do you reckon it stems from like parents just doing the groundwork, and then they have now the options to just be like, I don't know, they have options.
I think there's a lot of factors. I think the world is advanced. I think we've become a lot more free and liberal in certain things. I think social media has played a massive part. There's all these things that have created a mentality where, I don't know, the world has become a lot less fearful of certain things. And I think that's happened with the millennials. Millennials are kind of coming into the world now a bit more cocky. They're a bit more, well, I can do this, I can do that. I can be a YouTuber, I can be an influencer. So there's that kind of mentality of, well, I'll just go and do what I want, and that's cool, and I think that's great, and I think there's lots of good things there. You chuck in COVID, and COVID suddenly went, you work from home, don't worry about going to the office, don't worry about travelling, don't worry about all of this stuff, and it's almost like we've now got into this explosion of this entitlement mentality where, well, I should have that, I should work from home, I should have all these benefits. And you kind of then look at them and go, well, why should you? And I think that's the issue for me, because when I was young, and I'm 40, so when I was 20 years ago, 23 years ago when I started working, I had to work hard. There was no, you're just going to get given this, you're not going to have this free ride. I had to work. I had to get up early in the morning, 7:30, 7 o'clock. I had to get train into London, when it was peeing down with rain. I had to work hard. I wasn't given anything. There wasn't any free ride. There wasn't any handouts. There was nothing. And I think the mentality now, there isn't that. And I'm seeing it in so many different age groups.
What do you feel like? The younger people are just more relaxed, would you say, in terms of like they're not as hungry?
Yeah, I don't. Not as hungry is harsh, because you're a young guy. You're 24, 23. You're hungry. So I don't necessarily think they're not hungry. I think they're getting a lot more, and I think that's the problem. I think we're giving people a lot more than perhaps we did before. And I think, like anything, when you give someone something,
like too much at the start, then they'll start to expect
they want more.
Yeah.
So you've got university kids that actually parents are kind of going, well, it doesn't really matter if you don't pass your degree. So they're kind of like, okay. I've seen kids who struggle at school, and they're kind of like, yeah, I'm finding it really hard. My lessons are too hard, and they're chucking out, it's becoming stressful. Oh, I'm getting really anxious. And obviously that's a whole different can of worms. You start throwing out the mental health kind of thing. But parents are then going, okay, well, don't worry about school, darling. Don't worry about it. You stay at home, or we'll homeschool you. So the child's then kind of going, well, oh, that's pretty cool. That's pretty easy. They then go, okay, we'll go to college. You know, all right, go to college. Try that one. You know, let's see if college works. Your school didn't work, but go to college. 3 months into college, oh yeah, you know, I don't like it. My teacher's bullying me. My teacher's mean to me. So they start moaning to the parents again, going, yeah, I don't like it. Okay, darling, don't worry. You can leave college. You know, and I think that's the problem now. Is we're creating this almost this mentality of, well, there is no consequence. Do you know what I mean? There is no consequence. You know, if a child fails at university because they kind of just found it hard and gave up, what's the consequence? There isn't one. You know,
like giving them a sense of like responsibility instead of, okay, you failed, it's okay.
And then you then go, okay, so that's the kind of the youth, the kind of the school, the college, maybe uni. You put that in the context of the real world because that's how they've been brought up. That's how they've been taught that there is no consequence. There is no shame in failing. There is no, well, you know, you're going to have to go and do this then. There's none of that because they go, don't worry about it, just chill. So then they go to work. Actually, they're kind of going to work with that mentality going, well, if it doesn't work out, I'll get another job. Well, if it doesn't work out, I'll stay at home. I mean, one of the things, again, that I look at, which has changed a lot in the 23 years of me kind of in business and you know, turning into an adult, you know, at 40, people are staying at home longer. You know, people are staying at home till they're 30. That was never the case when I was growing up. You wanted to move out.
Yeah.
You know, you wanted to get out. I go back to my parents. You know, my parents got married at 21. They had their first house at 22. They had 3 kids by 27. That was the mentality then. And actually, I don't agree with that mentality. I don't agree with you go to school, you get married, you have kids, you have a job, you retire, that's it. I don't agree with that because I think that's so restrictive and that's not the way the world should be. But I think we've gone the other way. So the other way now is stay at home till you're 30. Don't worry about it. Chill. In some cases, 40. I see people that are still at home at 40 because it's easy, you know. And actually, the parents are kind of going, "Yeah, don't worry about it," you know.
They're just comfortable.
So I think that's where this has all changed. I think is it's become more acceptable to not do things. You know, you can fail at school, you can fail at uni, you can fail at college. It doesn't matter. You can go and get a job, and if you don't like the job, get another job. The problem is as well, and this is where again COVID has kind of created this sort of worse situation. Is we're now making it even easier. So we're now going, you can work from home. You know, companies are going flexi hours. Yeah, don't worry about that. We've got, you know, you can pick your hours. You know, so we're making the world even easier for people. You know, and again, you know, part of me gets that. You know, I think if you have an inherent work ethic, right? So if you've got an absolute motivation that is just in you, you know, an inherent work ethic, an absolute drive, determination, whatever it is, it doesn't matter what job you do, it doesn't matter the environment you're in, you are going to work bloody hard.
Yeah.
If you aren't that person and someone goes to you, you can get out of bed when you want, you live with your parents, you know, your mum will bring you a cup of tea probably at 9 o'clock in the morning, you can start work at 10 if you want to, you know, we're not going to moan at you if you don't. You don't have to come in the office ever. You don't have to let me know when you finish your work. If you create that environment for someone that doesn't want to work, well, what are they going to do?
Because I remember reading some of the LinkedIn comments, and a lot of people like push back on it. Like, what's your view on the people that say like it's just more productive because it avoids the time sitting in traffic? They get, I don't know, some people get distracted in the office. They're just more productive at home. Like, what's your take on that?
I think there's truth in that.
Yeah.
You know, I commute into London and you know, I don't get the train for many reasons. One of the reasons is it's not productive. You know, when I'm in the car, I can do calls. I can, you know, I sit in the car for an hour and a half. I can do my calls. I can put the phone on speaker, you know, Bluetooth, and I can wrap through my calls. So, but it's still an hour and a half. And then you think about coming back, that's 3 hours out of your day. So for me, going into London is an all-day thing. So there definitely is a productivity element, which I completely get. But my argument to those people is a lot of them, I think they're looking for the easy option. I think they are. I think, you know, I used this on a post recently. I interviewed a girl who lives in Aylesbury. Now, bear in mind, we're in Tring. We're 10 minutes from Aylesbury. You live in Aylesbury. I used to live in Aylesbury. Young girl, first job, I think. She might have had a short stint somewhere, 6 months. Wants to get into recruitment. Approached me. I didn't approach her. Saw the company, saw the brand. This is great. Want to be a part of it. Would love to be involved. Said all the right things. Interviewed her, really liked her, really engaging, personable, thought, yeah, she's cool, nice young girl. We got onto the conversation of location and office and all those kind of things. And she said I said to her, yeah, we do 2 or 3 days in the office, 2 or 3 days at home, really flexible. We start at 10, we finish at 5, pretty chilled. Straight away she went, yeah, I need to be fully remote. And it was the word, I need to be fully remote. And I was like, okay. I said, is that a childcare issue? No, I haven't got children. Okay. I said, do you not drive then? Yeah, no, I drive. Okay. So why do you need to be at home? I was kind of thinking of any other reason why you need to be at home. She's like, well, I just, I want to be at home. And I'm like, but you've got no basis to judge that on. You've got no basis to go, yeah, that's the right thing for me, for my career, my development, my professional progression. That's the right choice for me. There's nothing to base that on. She's doing it because it's bloody easy. She's doing it because, I want to be at home. I want to watch This Morning. I want to watch Loose Women. Yeah. I want to, get up and I want to get up because my mates are doing it. Actually, because I've seen all these cool tech companies are all doing it, and I want a bit of that.
Do you reckon it's more important for like younger people than to have Definitely. A bit of a mixture, just so like earlier on in their career they have they build the right behaviour. So then like, I don't know, a few years down the line, they can go fully remote because they picked up that the good habits.
Yeah, I mean, look. For example, with me, right? So when I was 17, I went and did car sales. Yeah. Car sales, you have to be there. And it was old school. It was in a car showroom. The car sales guys were like mid-50s, grey hair, feet on the desk, smoking cigarettes. It was brilliant. And it was proper like Arthur Daly, Del Boy types. Selling cars, and it was used cars, and it was down and dirty, and brilliant. I learned so much from watching those guys. As a 17-year-old that thought I knew everything, watching those guys selling, and the patter, there's a guy called Mickey Desborough, I always remember him. He would do all the stupid things, like an old lady would walk in, and he'd be like, hello, my darling, is it your 25th birthday? Stupid little things like that. But as a 17-year-old, I'm like, this is brilliant.
Yeah, you soak that in and you try it yourself.
And so it's all those things. I learnt so much, and it was hard, and it was horrible. And I remember selling cars in December, and you have to go out on the forecourt, and the battery's dead on a car that's 4 cars back in the car park, and somebody wants to test drive that car. And it's -6 degrees, and you're out there and you're freezing, and it's early, and it's cold, and it's starting to sleet, and you've got to go and get a battery charger to charge the battery, and you've got to move 3 cars to get that car out. Yeah. And you finally get that car out, and they're not interested. It's horrible, but I learned so much in that environment, and I think, and that's an extreme example, but I think by removing all of that, by saying to people, don't worry about it, chill at home, watch Loose Women, don't worry about it, just work when you want, do what you want. We've now created this mentality where people don't have this hard work expectation. They don't have this view of, I'm going to graft and I'm going to hustle and I'm going to do whatever it takes. They don't, because we're going, yeah, just do it. Just chill. Don't worry about it. And if it's crap and you don't like it, go and get another job. And the problem is there is other jobs, and you say that negatively, or I say it negatively, because you kind of go, oh my God, there's other jobs that would offer that. That's great for the economy that we're giving all these jobs, but it's creating a no-fear culture. It's creating an entitlement culture where people are going, well, that doesn't really bother me. I'm like, yeah, I'll go and get a better job. And what, you're not going to pay me 25 grand as my first job? Well, there you are, I'll go and get it. So it's completely changed the dynamic, I think. And I'm talking a lot about young people, because I think experienced people don't necessarily have entitlement mentality. Experienced people, older people, they have worked. They've worked hard for the ability, the right to work from home. They've worked hard to get to where they are. They've hustled, they've grafted, they've stood on a train station in the rain. Mm-hmm. And I think there is character building in that, and I think
definitely.
I say that the biggest issues for me are that people don't care anymore. And as I say, and it's a culture that's driven from school, it's a culture that's driven from university, college, and it's now got into work where they just want everything, and they're not really necessarily going to work for it. They want it.
Want everything, but want to do like minimal work to get it.
Yeah, I think so. And I think that's because we've made it too easy. I think we've made it all too easy for people to do all right. I mean, I when I hire people now, as you know, I ask personal questions. So what's your living situation? Do you have a girlfriend? Do you live at home still? What are you motivated by? What kind of car do you drive? And I do that because I want to get a sense of who you are and what you're about. I'm not gonna discriminate you for having a crap car. Yeah. But I want to know where your head's at, So you think about our kind of industry, sales, recruitment. If someone said to me, they said they were 25, 26, and I live at home. I'm not really motivated by nice things. I've got a clapped out 25-year-old Fiesta, that'll do me. Those things would concern me because I'm going, well, you've got it quite cushy. You're living at home, you haven't got fear of rent and mortgage. You're not bothered about material things like cars. You're quite happy plodding along. You look at their last job and maybe they stayed in their job for 2 or 3 years and didn't really look at progressing. They're all red flags. And you go, well, that's probably not the kind of person
Apart from like material stuff, even like kids, family, like things that will add a bit of pressure to the working life to make them want to achieve. Is it like those other things as well?
Yeah. Everything. You've got to have... There's got to be fear, I think, for people to be truly successful. You've got to have fear. And that fear can be, bills, it can be debt, it can be fear of failure, it can be fear of not being able to support your family, yourself, it could be fear of not achieving the success you wanted to achieve, it could be fear of many things, but there's got to be an element of fear. I have fear in the job that I'm in now. I've loads of fear. I have fear of what if all this comes crumbling down.
Yeah.
I've got fear of every employee that works for me because I take that responsibility on my shoulders.
Yeah.
People have got families. I've got family that work in this business. And, my sister-in-law, for example, her kids are my nieces and nephews. So I've got fear that if I do this badly, she's going to lose her job. My niece and nephews are going to struggle. They could lose their home. So you've got to have fear.
Yeah. This is where like fear can be translated into like a good thing, right?
Massively.
You can use it to drive you. I remember.
You can't have fear that's going to cripple you. Otherwise, you wouldn't get out of bed. Yeah. You've got to have fear that motivates you. I like that. But people don't get that, and actually, some people can't. They can't harness that fear because it becomes too much, and then you get into this period of anxiety and stress, and it all gets too much, and you can't then perform. So you've got to have an element of fear. You've also got to have an element of hunger, desire, excitement, passion. You've got to have all those things. It's not just fear. Fear's a good driver. Fear's driven me for years.
Yeah, if you can use it correctly, because there'll be some people that they'll see the fear, they'll feel anxious, and they'll just be like, okay, I'm gonna just take the easy way, take the easy route.
But I don't think, and we go back to the kind of the topic we're talking about, which is entitlement. There is no fear. So if we talk about a lot of the things that I think are wrong in the world right now, there is no fear. So look at my 3 kids, for example. My 3 kids are quite privileged children now, and they've grown up in an era of iPads and smart TVs.
The iPad era.
They are, and they've all 3 of them have got Apple phones. Even my 6-year-old hasn't got a SIM card and all that. That'd be mental, but
just for apps.
Just for apps.
YouTube, just to keep them entertained.
YouTube, but they've all got smartphones. They've got iPads. They've all got TVs in the bedroom. They go on, holidays. They live in big houses. They never want for anything. And part of me looks at that and goes, that's part of the problem.
I'd be curious to know, like, so as they get older then, and obviously start preparing for like the working world, and they're going through, I don't know, like the last stages of school, thinking about college, uni, is there anything that you'd like do to try and like to give them that hunger, drive, feeling, or like that
Well,
fear?
I'm quite a grounded person anyway. You know, I kind of stay true to my roots, and I try not to get too carried away in myself. I can do, you know, and I know I can do. Your ego kicks in, or you know, certain moments you kind of lose yourself in your own hype a little bit.
Yeah.
But generally, I'm quite grounded and quite normal. And I think my kids have that, but I think accidentally and potentially subconsciously, they are growing up in quite a privileged environment. And, you know, we don't necessarily treat them the same way that my parents would have treated me. You know, I remember failing my GCSEs terribly, you know, because I just didn't care. You know, I was interested in football and girls, that was it. You know, I wasn't interested in geography and history and arable farming and sedimentary rocks. It just wasn't on the radar. So I failed massively, you know, G's in German and G's in history.
I don't even know you can get a G.
My kids don't know what it is. It's all ones and twos now, I think.
Yeah.
But it was like so fearful of that coming through my door. Yeah. So fearful. And I remember my mum crying. I remember my dad, just this disappointment of what you're going to do with your life. It was horrendous because I'd failed my GCSEs.
Do you reckon that was a wake-up call then? Just
Probably not.
Oh, probably not.
Probably not. Probably not.
Okay.
I don't think I cared that much. I think I cared because I didn't want to get in trouble. But I didn't care that much. You know, I was loving football. I didn't care that much. I cared because of I was going to get a bit of a telling off. I think that was my fear. But the point I was going to make was I don't think that'd be a problem now. You know, and it's stupid because I kind of sit there and I gotta go. I suppose in some respects, because I look at, actually I've done quite well and, you know, I'm working hard and I failed massively.
Yeah.
So I then had this mentality of, doesn't really matter.
Yeah, you know, it is. I do agree because, you know, with social, connecting everyone now, and you can see all like the come-ups and stories of these successful entrepreneurs and like business owners and stuff. And a lot of the stories is they failed school. So then a lot of people think it's cool to just be like, okay, I'm going to fail.
And how mad's that?
Yeah.
And I'm a failure when it came to school. Massive failure. You know, not because I was intelligent. I just didn't care. I wanted to play football. You know, I was brilliant at football. You know, I wanted to play cricket. I wanted to do athletics. I wanted to play rugby. You know, I would be sitting in a history lesson and a girl that I fancied would walk past the window, and that was it. I was gone. You know, I was like, I'm not going to pay attention to the treat of Versailles. I want to see where she's going. You know, I was a massive failure. But you're right. We kind of promote that a little bit as that's all right.
Yeah, I feel like the misconception is even though they failed, they still had to work really, really hard, probably much harder.
Yeah. Well, I failed not through lack of intelligence. I failed because I just didn't care. Yeah. You know, I wasn't interested. The ironic thing, though, is I love history. I love geography. History? I love science. Really? Oh my God!
Like, I didn't see you as like a geography.
No, I love it. But I love geography in a sense of like I want to know about countries and I want to know about
like cultures,
different cultures. I don't care about volcanic rocks and I don't care about sedimentary rocks and you know nimbus clouds. I don't care about that. Well, I say I don't care. I'm a bit of a geek, but I like that stuff. But I'm not going to go and research it. I will research countries and I will research, you know, history of countries and cultures. And, you know, history for me is massive. I love history. You know, I love learning about different parts of history. You know, I watch all the National Geographic and History Channel documentaries. But when I was in school, hated it. And that again, is for me, shows that it wasn't that actually A, wasn't intelligent or B, wasn't interested. For me at the time, my motivation was different. You know, my motivation was football, girls, you know, having fun. The point, though, I think of all of that is there was recourse for me when that went wrong. You know, I got a kicking from my parents. You know, major, you know, disappointment, major upset across the whole family. I think my mum, you know, my mum's one of these mums that likes to include the whole family. So I'm going to tell your uncle about this. And I'm like, don't tell my uncle about this.
Oh yeah,
you know,
around that time it's probably no WhatsApp group chats. It's
Yeah.
just like family gathering.
So
She's going to announce it to everyone.
I'll be upstairs and I'd hear her on the phone telling my grandma. And I'm like, why are you telling my grandma that I failed GCSEs? Yeah. But, you know, and that's just kind of the family we are a little bit. We share things, or I don't, but my mum loves to share these things. But so I think that was a big thing, disappointment, and there was that recourse of you failed, you know. And I got in trouble, and it was a big problem, because then what are you going to do? You know, you can't do A-levels now, you know, and it's like, well, are you going to go to college? And I was like, I didn't want to go to college, because all my mates were at school still. So I'm like, that's a terrible idea, I don't want to go to college.
How are you like then if one of the kids come home with like, they failed this or...
And that, do you know what? And that is part of the problem.
Yeah.
Because, and I'm guilty of this myself, I'd kind of go, okay, well, don't worry, we'll do something else, you know.
To be fair, I feel like you probably have to like tailor it to how they are when they face like failure, because some people might work better with the it's okay, but then some people might work better with the telling off.
So I think if I think about my kids and how I am, so I push them and pressure them on a lot of things. My middle son Freddie in particular, I push and pressure him hard because he's naturally lazy. Okay. He's got a natural victim mentality, and he's got a lot of traits that unfortunately just prevent him from achieving success, because he just will take the easy option. He'll give up. He doesn't want to do it. He'll blame other people when it goes wrong. And I can see that in him, and it sounds harsh. He's only 11, bless him, but I can see that in him. And I push him hard because I don't want that mentality to be who he becomes. So I'm pushing him hard now, so he doesn't become that person. Yeah. And that's hard, because you kind of go, I don't want to be a pushy parent. I don't want to be
fair, you'd rather you do it than someone else do it, like when he finishes school or something.
I think it's because I can see the traits already, and he's 11 years old. I don't want that to become who he is, because I know then we're going back into this entitlement culture. It's not my fault, it's their fault. You know, well, I did my best, but he didn't want me to do it. You know, it's that kind of like, actually, no, it's you. You are lazy. You know, you don't have the drive, you don't have the motivation. So I'm trying to sort of push that out of him now. Freddie is a good example. Freddie's a really good football player, good football player. When he started playing football when he was 5 or 6, he was unbelievable. He was head and shoulders above anybody else. He's strong, he's big, he's powerful, he loves football. He was dominant. I took him to Tottenham for a training day. He got player of the day. He got a trophy out of 50 kids. And actually, I think he was the youngest kid there. He's unbelievable. What happened with Freddie, and this is a good example of where that mentality crept in, was I think COVID hit. It was Christmas, so we couldn't play football because of COVID. Christmas anyway sort of happened. I think in Christmas he ate a bit, got out of shape. Because COVID then hit, we didn't get started again with football. So he kind of got into this rut of not playing. He's a big guy, and if he doesn't play football, doesn't stay fit, he puts on weight. He loves his food. So he got out of shape. Yeah. So, of course, when football started again, it was hard. Yeah. You know, what was easy before, this was hard. I could see him, you know, heavy breathing after 5 or 10 minutes. And again, which relates to what we're talking about, he gave up. You know, it was hard because he was out of shape. It was hard because he couldn't do what he could do before. You know, other kids were running rings around him. Other kids were faster, fitter. Yeah. He couldn't keep going.
That's that thing with COVID, isn't it? Like, either like use it to grow, or you'd fall in the rut. Like during lockdown.
And look, as an 11-year-old over Christmas, you're going to eat a lot of crap.
Yeah. Right, at that age, you don't really think about anything else.
But I think he was unfortunate because then, let's say, we had a stop-start because actually I think it was frozen pitches through January, February. COVID hit, couldn't play. So, but what happened, and it's now continued because he's not back playing football. Yeah. So we're 3 years on, or 2.5 years on from COVID. He's not back playing football because he hasn't got that desire and that will to go and do it. And as much as I'm pushing him, I'm kind of at the point of, I need you to want to do it yourself. Yeah, it's like,
does he even want to do it like right now?
He does. He loves football, but he doesn't want to make that effort. He doesn't want to go, I'm going to get fit and I'm going to go and play football.
It's like he wants to do it, but he's just
doesn't want to do the hard work.
Yeah. Okay.
So that then, and it's a roundabout way of talking about it. That then comes back to this entitlement culture. Well, I want to play football. I love football. but I don't want to do the hard work to do it. I don't want to get myself in shape. I don't want to stop eating. I don't want to train. I don't want to go to the gym. I don't want to go for a long run with my dad. He doesn't want to because it's hard. And that for me is where this entitlement thing comes from.
Yeah.
It's hard.
And when that type of mentality goes into the workplace, then how do you feel like? What are the solutions to that? Like, how would you react?
You've got to make it harder.
Yeah. How do you react to that then?
So I think we've got to make it harder for the younger generation in particular, because the younger generation are the biggest guilty sector of this whole entitlement culture. You know, as I say, older people, more experienced people, they've worked hard, they've grafted, they've seen tough times, they've worked through hard times, they've got fear, whatever that fear may be. The younger generation are coming through with this kind of fearless, I don't want to work hard, I don't need to work hard actually because it's there, I can just do it and I'll get given it, and you know, my parents are cool, I can live with them till I'm 40 and they'll pay for most things, they'll pay for me to go on holiday. You know, they don't have that element. So I think we've got to make life harder for the younger people. You know, we have to. We have to make people accountable for mistakes and errors. You know, it has to be harder when you fail at school and college and university. It has to be harder. I think it has to be harder to get a job. Now, and the problem is, and this is something we'll talk about, I'm sure, in another episode of this, social media. Social media has exploded in, I don't know what, the last maybe 5 years in particular. Yeah. It's created so many opportunities for people to be successful sitting on their arse at home. You know, my kids now, what do you want to be? I want to be a YouTuber. It's like, Jesus Christ. But why not? They're looking at all these YouTubers and they're going, yeah, they've got 27 million followers. Mr. Beast, he's worth 50 million quid.
Do you not think that's quite cool though, to just make money out of just anything now?
Yeah, of course I do.
Yeah.
Of course I do. But the negative of it is you've got kids now that are going, yeah, I'm not going to go and study.
Okay, yeah, I get
I'm not going to go and study astronomy. I'm not going to go and study microbiology, you know, at university. I'm going to carry on playing Fortnite. I'm going to sit here on my game and I'm going to record myself.
It's like an excuse to be lazy. yeah.
Of course it is. And the geeks have become cool. Do you know what I mean? The geeks that actually, you know, everyone used to go, they're sitting there playing, they're now really cool.
Yeah, because they're making like loads of money.
They're making a lot of money.
Playing games, yeah.
But kids are seeing that. You know, kids are seeing that and going, I want a bit of that. You know, how many Instagram accounts you now see of 18 to 25-year-olds who think they're influencers? Do you know what I mean? We've got some in our office, you know, taking pictures and selfies, thinking they're influencers. It's like, you're not an influencer, but they think they are. And actually, I think deep down, their aspiration is to be an influencer. It's like, I want to be, you know, an Instagram person, and I want to get given loads of cool stuff, and I want to make loads of money, you know. But it's like, it's mental.
Do you feel like it's only good if they're still like working hard, but still have those aspirations? Is it just like when they use it as an excuse to be lazy?
I think you can hustle, and you can have side hustles, and I think you can. The people that I love, you know, and so you're a good example of this, and you know I love you. You know, you've got little hustles. You know, you've got your Thai boxing Insta page, you've got your little trainer thing you do, and you got your job.
Yeah.
And you went to university, and what did you get at university?
First.
You got first. Yeah. You know, so and you know, I know you work hard with your personal life and your professional life, and you're a very family focused guy. You know, you're a good example of what I think is right, in a sense that your work ethic is unbelievable. You know, you've done a presentation for me at 3:00 in the morning. You know, I didn't ask you to do that. You did that because you wanted to do that.
That's the thing with when you said about the fear, because I tried to stick to my words. So I've done, you know, I balanced it where I've done something with my family, and I was like, okay, cool. Now it's time to do this. Yeah. So I just didn't want to. That's the fear thing as well, and it's not because it's like I'm scared to get telling off. I'm just like, I just want to do it on time. It's like me giving it to myself.
But that for me, all of those character traits are just brilliant, because your work ethic's amazing. You're conscientious. You had that fear element of, I need to get this done. I want to do the best I can do. You know, you've worked hard at university. You've got little side hustles going on that, you know, you keep yourself busy with. All of those things for me are brilliant, and I would always encourage them. You know, I would never go, stop doing that, because actually for me that's brilliant. It's entrepreneurial, and that's part of the reason why I love you, is because there's this entrepreneurial side of you, and you're creative, and you're hungry, and you're motivated, and I love all that. Where again it goes the wrong way is when people don't do that stuff and they just kind of sit there taking pictures on Instagram and they expect themselves to be this influencer.
Yeah.
You know, women are the most guilty of it, and you know, it sounds sexist. It isn't meant that way. I think women are smart in a sense that they know that the male demographic respond differently than the female demographic do to the male population. Of course they do. You know, men will like hot pictures on Instagram. They do. They comment. You know, women aren't necessarily that bold, maybe. Some are, but men are a lot more forthcoming with it. And that's the whole kind of alpha male, you know. So women will play up to that. And you see it all the time. And you get young girls that, you know, they look at the Boohoo models and they look at the ASOS models and they look at the Pretty Little Thing models and they go, yeah, I'm a bit of that, you know. So they take pictures in the bikinis and they take pictures in their revealing clothes and they go, yeah, Boohoo. And they get loads of likes and they get loads of Insta followers and they get loads of comments.
Is it like when
and
the,
kind of like,
it's like the dark side of it, isn't it? Like when the likes and followers get to people's heads and then they're like, well, I don't want to work.
But it kind of fuels that then. You start going, oh my God, maybe I can be an influencer. You're probably not going to be. Let's be honest. You know, an influencer these days is going to have millions of followers, you know, millions of traction, millions of engagement to become a proper influencer. You know, and people do it, of course, but there's so many that don't, and I think there's so many examples now of people being deluded by this sense of that's where I can get to. You can't. Not everyone's going to get. If it was that easy, we'd all be doing it. Do you know what I mean? Like if it was that easy, we'd all be on Instagram, you know, taking our tops off and becoming. But we're not, because it isn't that easy. So I think for every success story, there's millions of failures. But what's happening is our world that we're in is encouraging. That's where you can get to, and that's where you should be. Maybe not consciously encouraging. We're subconsciously encouraging. You know, my kids, their biggest idols are YouTubers. Mental. My biggest idol used to be Brad Pitt, Jurgen Klinsmann, who played for Tottenham. They were my biggest idols. You know, and yeah, I wanted to be Jurgen Klinsmann, but I knew for me to be Jurgen Klinsmann, I had to work so hard on that football pitch to be Jurgen Klinsmann. That now doesn't translate. I want to be Mr. Beast, the YouTuber that digs a hole and buries his mates in it and films it. You don't have to work hard for that, really. Do you know what I mean? I get there's a sense of you won't achieve that because not everyone achieves that. But you don't have to work hard for it. And I think that's the difference, isn't it? You know, Richard Branson was a massive inspiration in my life, probably as was Alan Sugar. I know for me to replicate what they've done, I've got to work really hard, and I knew that from a young age.
What about the YouTubers though? Because when I watch like certain YouTube stories, there's like, I don't know, like Gary Vaynerchuk, when he started YouTube, he talk about he uploaded every day, little views, and then I don't know, like after like a certain amount of years, he had that one like game-changing video. Like what's like your views on that then? Like
I think that don't get me wrong, I'm not, you know, I think there are genuine influencers and social media professionals, you know, that have worked hard and have grafted and have done that. And I think social media has become a thing where television perhaps used to be that. I think you now have the ability to get your message, I mean, similar to what we're doing now, you can get your message out there without having to be on television or without having to be on radio, which used to be a platform for celebrities, you know. So I think there are genuine people out there that actually have worked hard.
Yeah, because when I see like certain stories, it's still like, I think it might just be misleading because it looks like just video put out there and then like goes trending, but then there may be like the backstory where you don't see them, I don't know, just upload like, you know, like 5 years ago where they're still uploading YouTube videos, but it's getting like 10 views, but they're still like, oh, fuck it, I'm gonna carry on. Yeah. And they probably get like loads of hate from their friends back then. They're like, who does this guy think he is? And then 5 years later, they are where they are, and they're like, I knew him back then.
So I think there are, don't get me wrong, there are people that have grafted, you know, to get there. And do you know what? I think given my time again, if you know, I was younger, perhaps, and someone put the social media in front of me and went, this is your platform to success, you would take advantage of it. You know, and we are to a degree now, you know, we're taking advantage of the platforms that actually make sense to us, you know. But, and this is where the but comes in, I think you do it as an influencer properly, and you graft, and you buy the equipment, and you hustle, and you watch, and you learn, and you make mistakes, but you keep going. For me, absolutely crack on. I think there's absolute testament to that. The ones that are wrong are the ones that get the phone and go, yeah, I'm just going to film myself and be an influencer. That's bullshit. That's not graft. That's just chancing it. And so I had this realization that I was going down this wrong route of I'm never going to be an influencer. I'm never going to be, an Instagram model. So I canned it and came off it, and I thought, right, I'm putting my attention into the business. And I think for me, that was the right thing to do, and I've channeled all my time into the business, and we've grown the business tremendously in the last 2.5 years. And now we're utilising social. Now we're utilising social media. So I think that for me is where it goes wrong, and it's not, look, social media, all those things, absolute opportunity, absolute, game changer for businesses. If you play it right, it's ridiculous. But it goes back to that, the original point of the entitlement culture. People are looking at it the wrong way, and people are seeing it as this thing that they can be successful without any work. Yeah. And that's where it goes wrong. And I think when you couple that then with it's all become too easy. There is no recourse really in failure. We think about our industry in recruitment. How many CVs do we see with people that are 6 months, 8 months, 9 months, a year? They're still getting jobs. And you kind of look at that and go, for me, that's bizarre, because I was always taught that you couldn't hop around with a job because it looked bad on your CV. But now it's like, well, does it really? Do people care? The whole problem, and like I say, we're talking about entitlement. It's just all become too easy, And do you know what? People comment when I put posts out. People go, yeah, but every generation it's got easier. Every generation, has been better than the next. Yeah, fine. But what does that mean in 20 years' time? What's going to happen then? Literally, we're just going to be like, just stay in bed. Just stay in bed. Don't worry about it. Just chill. We'll sort out something. We'll sort out money. Just chill. And I think that's the problem at the minute, is we're in this period now. And actually, I think what will happen is there will be an implosion, I think, because everyone pipes up at me on social media and goes, look at the productivity of work from home. All these businesses are booming. Look at the reduction in mental health. All these stats.
Yeah, I was going to ask that, because there's that thing of hard work versus smart work, and work from home, traveling.
But everyone chucks that out. Everyone goes, yeah, work smarter. Okay, we all obviously do, but you have to work hard. Working smarter for me is not the only secret to success. Working smarter for me, you have to work hard. I don't care who you are, what you are, you have to work hard. So I don't like that comment, and people shoot me down all the time. Go, yeah, why wouldn't you work smarter? You've got to work hard still. Cristiano Ronaldo, absolutely he will work smart. Of course he will. He's the hardest worker in any football team. I don't care who you are.
It's like it has to work in harmony.
You have to. Yeah. You have to work hard. But I think there'll be an implosion, because I think what's happening at the minute is people are using these kind of stats. It's like, it's like when you have a new idea. So you'll know this from a marketing standpoint. You have a new idea. It's fresh. It's fun. It's cool. You will see results. You will. There's a little bit of kind of novelty element. There's a little bit of whatever. Everyone buys into this new idea. Everyone kind of thinks it's really cool. So you go 100 miles an hour. After a period of time, that starts to dip. After a period of time, kind of everyone's kind of enthusiasm's gone a little bit. There's a new shiny toy somewhere. The focus has gone a little bit. So actually, the results aren't there. Actually, all of a sudden, it's like, okay, that wasn't as good as perhaps we thought it was going to be. I think we're in the novelty period right now of this whole work from home mentality. I think it's too early to look at stats properly and go, that's the best model. I think we're too early. If you think from when COVID really kind of went, and now we've got this whole work from home culture, it's too early. So I saw a post and I kind of commented on it. So Alan Sugar was going, I don't like it, I don't agree with it. I built businesses, I've built an empire, we never did it. look at where I am kind of thing. And I go, yeah, that's tried and tested. Do you know what I mean? That model of everyone in the office, everyone working hard, that is tried and tested. And it's proven. People have built successful businesses and they've built successful empires and they've built successful careers with that model. You can't argue that right now because it's not been long enough. You know, we're still on this kind of wave of fun. We're on this wave of novelty. You know, we're not 5 to 10 years in going, yeah, that's proven now. The stats are there. You know, we're not. It's too early. And actually what I'm starting to see is actually people are going, yeah, you know, work from home's okay, but I'm getting a bit lonely. I'm getting a bit bored. I miss the team. So you're starting to get people now creeping back. So actually what's happening now is the hybrid model is becoming...
that's why I like the hybrid.
The hybrid model is absolutely perfect. You know, it's absolutely perfect because I think the old way was wrong because it was too restrictive. You know, I remember having to make up a lie because I felt guilty about going to the dentist. Oh yeah, my kid's sick. You know, it's like, that's mental because you feel bad because you're going to the dentist. You know, like who cares? Go to the dentist, whatever. Like, do you know what I mean?
It's like a great mixture of like you're still in the office, like soaking up, learning from the team, and then like obviously building relationships with everyone as well. And then when you're at home, you can just in silence just get your
I hate
work
working
done
at home. I do. I hate working at home, and that's because I love being around people. I love the competition. I love the buzz. I love the banter. I love ad hoc conversations. I love sporadic conversations. I love listening to something and going, "That's a really good idea."
Do you reckon it differs per role then, like in different departments? Because
possibly, yeah.
Yeah, because I feel like in sales, you'd want to just be like talking, like you love, you know.
I'm a control
on the phone.
freak. You know, you know me. I want to be involved in everything. So for me, being at home and being away from it is really hard.
Yeah.
But I, you know, I argue that I think anybody, you know, you learn, and so that's where I think there'll be this implosion. I think what will happen is people will realise actually work from home isn't the answer and isn't the be all and it isn't the end all, and there'll be cultural challenges, there'll be mental health challenges. I'm seeing that more now. So the first wave of work from home, everyone's like, oh my God, mental health has reduced. It hasn't. Actually what's happened is all the people that suffered from loneliness, all the people that suffered from depression, all the people that suffered from anxiety, that's gone up. Because guess what? Going to work was a distraction. Being around people was a distraction. You know, if you're sitting at home and you're stuck in your head, that's the worst place to be. I take it from me. I was someone that suffered with anxiety for a long time, and I suppressed my anxiety with alcohol. The hardest times for me was when I was on my own, because I'm in my head. You know, the worst place to be is in your head.
That's a good perspective to look at, because obviously when I read the comments on your LinkedIn and people like, you know, arguing back at you, it's because they're saying how much it's better it is for them, because they're it's easier to fit around family life, more time with the kids. But then
which it is.
There's a flip side to it that you just mentioned.
Massively is a lot. I've got kids. It's so much easier. I can pick the kids up. You know, I went through periods where I didn't see my kids. You know, I worked from 7 in the morning. I'd leave the house, or 6:30 in some cases, 5:30 when I was in London. I wouldn't see the kids. You know, and I'd get home if I was in London. I'd get home at 9 o'clock. I wouldn't see them.
6 or 9.
So you miss morning breakfast, you miss school run, you miss bath time, bedtime, stories, you miss all that. You know, so don't get me wrong. You know, work from home has definitely given people that ability to have that balance. But I also know, and I'm better now, but you know, I need to be around people because that's just who I am.
Yeah.
If I was in the period I was in 12 years ago when I was struggling with life, if I was on my own every single day, I would have really struggled. And people arguing, you know, the argument that people give now is, yeah, but we've got all the remote tools that can create the virtual culture. It's not the same. You're sitting in the same 4 walls, you're staring at the same screen, you're staring at the same window, you're not having interaction, you're not having people conversations. It's hard. You know, so there is that element definitely where I think there'll be this implosion of, and we'll talk about this in more detail, I'm sure, but there'll be this implosion where people suddenly go, yeah, actually that's not the right thing. Fully remote isn't the answer, you know, because what will happen then is productivity will dip, because mental health will increase, loneliness will increase, depression will increase, boredom will increase, productivity will dip. And then people will go, yeah, shit, this don't work. You know, we've got to come back to a better balance. And I don't care what people say, you cannot be the office culture. You cannot create that virtually. Yeah, but we do drinks on a Friday. That's not the same.
Yeah, I think that's why I chose to come in a lot more when I first started, just because I wanted to be around everyone and learn and just get to know everyone better. And I feel like
you have to. It's fun. You get to know people. You build relationships. How many relationships, have been built through work? Yeah. Marriages, girlfriends, boyfriends.
Yeah.
Again, you can't do that remotely.
Yeah. To be fair, like I had a friend who started a new job, and his onboarding process was online, and he was quite upset. He's like, I really wanted to go into the office.
You can't do it. Like I say, I think there's certain things you can do at home, and it's cool and it's great, and I'm all for it. And hybrid working and all those kind of things, absolutely great. I don't want anybody giving me bullshit. Oh yeah, I've got to do this today. Actually, just do whatever. Like, I don't care. You know what I mean? You know what I'm like. I don't care. As long as the work's done and the results are there, I don't care. And I'd rather that and have that honesty and that transparency and because like I say, I used to have to make excuses to go and see my kids' nativity play. Like, oh yeah, no, I've got a sick bug. I can't. It's like, just go and watch the nativity play. Like, I'm a workaholic. Like, everyone knew that about, even when it wasn't my business, I was a workaholic. So it's kind of like, why do I feel guilty about going to see my, kids' nativity play? But that was the culture. So there will be an implosion. But I think, okay, all of this stuff and let's say the work from home and all these things, it has created this easy world, and we need to make it harder again.
What's like a scenario or a story like in the recent years of where you saw like entitlement within someone that just like really shocked you? Like, what was the most shocking?
I mean, the girl I interviewed that lived 10 minutes down the road but wouldn't want to come in the office, that for me was shocking. I think an 18-year-old that I'd hired to work for me but wouldn't get out of bed in the morning, wouldn't turn up to work on time, would take a 2-hour lunch break, things like that, just mental behaviour that you just think would never ever happen when I was that age and I was working, because I was so fearful of everything. Being late was so bad, taking longer on your lunch break was so bad. But yeah, an 18-year-old that just didn't really care, took a 2-hour lunch break because he just thought, that's all right, you have to do that. And it was like, and I remember having a conversation with him going, do you not think that's weird? That we all do 40 minutes lunch break, or in some cases half hour, some people don't go for lunch, and you had 2 hours? Did that not seem a bit odd? Just so oblivious, so oblivious, not setting an alarm. Or actually worse, turning the alarm off and not getting up in the morning.
Mate, I get so scared when I have no alarm, I don't know why.
But who, when they've got the responsibility of going to work, would turn that alarm off?
Yeah.
I mean, that to me is like, do you not care? Are you not scared of your boss sacking you? For me, those are all examples of where this entitlement comes from. And I don't know why that's happened. Well, I do know why it's happened, and that's what we've been talking about. But I don't know, I suppose for me, it's so foreign to have that mentality, because it's like, you've got to go work. That's your job. That's your responsibility. You have to go to work. And
I guess the tough part for you is now that you're like, I've got to make you learn, so now I have to be the bad guy, like in his eyes, and just
you know me, and I hate being that guy. I'm one of those people that I would much rather guide and educate and help rather than give you a kicking when you do it wrong.
Yeah.
I want to give you the tools so I know that we don't have to have that kicking conversation. Rather than I'll give you a kicking when you fail. That's just not who I am. But certain people, I have to have that conversation because this is so bonkers.
Yeah.
Why did you turn your alarm off? Why aren't you here? Why did you think it was okay to have a 2-hour lunch break? But they just don't know. So my daughter, as you know, was due to come in for a marketing discussion to do a social media coordinator job. And she hassled me about it for weeks. When am I going to do it? When am I going to have that meeting? When am I going to come in? When am I going to have that? And I was like, oh my God, like, you're driving me nuts. Like, okay, fine, we'll do it, And again, it isn't because I need my 13-year-old daughter to be a social media coordinator. I don't, we'll be fine. But yeah, look, if she wants a part-time job and it gives her a little bit of experience in the workplace and she gives a little bit of responsibility and she can earn some money, yeah, great, we'll do it. So she badgered me. I finally crumbled. I was like, yeah, fine, right, we'll book it in Friday 10 o'clock. We were here Friday 10 o'clock. She didn't come in. And of course I asked her mum, I'm like, well, why is she not in? Oh, she didn't want to get out of bed. I'm like, what? I'm like, this was her moment.
Yeah.
This was her moment to come and have that conversation. And she didn't want to get out of bed. And it's like, Jesus, like that again for me is just this bonkers mentality that these youngsters have. Put it back into context of the industry we're in. SDRs, yeah, sales development representative. So that's the equivalent of what used to be lead generation, inside sales, been around for years. Those guys are typically either out of uni, so first jobbers, or they're second jobbers, yeah, typically. Young, hungry, motivated, start at the bottom. That was what the role was. And what they're doing typically was cold calling. Brutal. It was hard.
Yeah.
You're there, right, your KPIs, you've got to make 100 dials a day, you're on the phone, that is the job. You're going to smash it, it's going to be horrible, you're going to be making cold calls, that's your job, you're going to learn, yeah? That was what it was. Typically it was 30k in London, maybe 35. But it was a junior role, junior sales role. You're going to come in, you're going to learn. Now, that job is paying 60k.
Wow.
Because it is. There's no logical answer as to why that is. It's because that's what somebody somewhere is paying. Someone somewhere is going, yeah, I'll pay my SDR 60k.
Yeah.
Probably.
Everyone else is competing for it.
Well, it probably because it's a financially backed or PE backed or venture capitalist backed company that have got a load of money, and they're going, we don't care, we'll just go and hire all these people, and that's happened, and it's out there. And these SDRs are now getting approaches about 45k and 50k and 60k jobs. So they're then going, I'm a 60k candidate. Actually, I'm really underpaid here. I'm a 50k candidate. But what's funny though, and where we then see this, and this is kind of where it fuels this entitlement mentality as well. So they go and get a job, and they go and get a 60k job. The CEO of that company or the sales director of that company suddenly goes, Jesus Christ, we're paying this person 60k, they're rubbish. So they let that person go after 3 months or 6 months. That person then re-enters the employment market going, yeah, I want 65, 70. Because they've just had 60k.
Even though they just failed at the previous job.
But you weren't a 60k candidate. You failed because you weren't a 60k candidate.
Yeah.
But you're now telling me you want 65, 70. Bonkers.
And they're not there for recruiters.
Honestly, it's bonkers. And people have... we've created that. The world has created that. Youngsters haven't become these, arrogant, entitled individuals. We've created it. And we've created it because the world's too easy. We've created it because there's no recourse. We've created it because we give them too much. It doesn't matter if you fail at school. It doesn't matter if you fail your first job. You can live at home till you're 30 or 40. It doesn't matter if you don't want to get out of bed. It's become too easy. And I think we have to make it harder. I think we have to. As parents, we have to make it harder. I think as employers, we have to make it harder. I think it has to be harder. Otherwise, we're going to create a culture of snowflakes, as I call it. We're going to create a culture of soft people that don't know what real success looks like. Yeah. And ultimately, they will fail.
It is important, man, because especially when I was going through my GCSEs, I had such massive fear. I remember, because I compare it now with my sister's friends that are going through GCSEs, and it's kind of like if they fail, nothing really happens. Yeah. But I was like to my mum, what are you going to do if I fail? She's like, you're going back to Philippines. That's what she said.
But that's, and I guarantee that would have been true. Yeah. But that's fear.
She was like, because if I started misbehaving here and just not literally being counterproductive and making their lives harder, she was like, you're going military school back in Philippines. I was like, yeah, I got a pass now.
But that's fear. That's good fear, healthy fear. There is no fear right now. There is no fear, because they'll get a job, they'll get more money, they'll work from home, they can live with their parents. There is no fear, and it's created this entitlement culture where they're just going, well, I should have that. Why should you have that? Well, I just think I should. And it's like, there's no logic behind that, and I think the answer ultimately is we've got to make it harder. We've got to make it harder. We've got to make it tougher. We've got to make, there's got to be recourse. There's got to be some kind of reaction. There's got to be some kind of if that doesn't work, that's a problem, and there isn't that right now. And I think that's a culture thing, it's a social media thing, it's a technology thing, it's a world thing. It's all become too soft, too easy, too nice.